no stopping us. Fly without boarding pass. Couldn't catch me, I'll be moving fast. Call me a shooting star. Let 'em know who you are. Flying up in a bar. Wish on a star. Time to show 'em who's in charge. Call me a shooting star. Didn't even get to cross. I said I'm moving too far. Get to glass. No, there ain't no stopping us. Fly without boarding pass. Couldn't catch me, I'll be moving fast. Call me a shooting star. Let 'em know who you are. Flying up in a bar. Wish on a star. Time to show 'em who's in charge. Call me a shooting star. Didn't even get to cross.
Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Div 1 of the ARL, the revamped league that we have here. I am your host, Snoop Loop, tonight, and we have the great Zilla in the commentary box with us tonight. Zilla, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good evening, Snoop. Very well, mate. How are you?
Very good. It's good to be back on a Thursday night. We've got a little bit of a revamped ARL league that is running its first Div 1 session tonight, the best of the league. And it should be a belter. How you feeling about this one?
Yeah, look, you're right, mate. I think the division changes we made I think we've seen already Tuesday night, Wednesday night, the competitiveness in the racing has just yeah, it's definitely turned up a notch, especially in that second div, where we've taken a mixture of the old novice and the old prodigy, put some of the fastest of the two together, and last night we had a full grid, lots of quick guys, really, really good racing. So tonight we've got 17 of the best drivers in ARL, and it's going to be a really, really good race. It's going to be very entertaining. Zandvoort doesn't disappoint with action,
Yeah,
that's for
no
sure.
way. No, that's some great points there. We love this track. We haven't been back here in a season. We didn't come here last season, if I'm recalling right. And like you said, this track doesn't disappoint in the action department. And with our new revamped division here tonight, we do have a little bit of a change in the schedule of how we're going to run. So tonight, you're going to see what you see on the normal F1 screens for qualifying. We're currently in Q1, and we will move through to Q2 and Q3. And if you're unfamiliar with this, I'm sure most of you are pretty on the ball with this stuff. But basically, in Q1, the bottom 5 will go out. Unfortunately for these guys, there's only 17 running, so only a couple we will lose in Q1. And then in Q2, it'll eliminate the top 10, and then Q3 is basically a top 10 shootout. So we've got the first of the Div 1 guys here running their laps for the full qualifying here tonight. So our first one underway here is SV. You want to take us on board with a lap of Netherlandszilla?
Yeah, absolutely. So taking the tight inside right, he's going to use all the track on the left. He's coming into a little bit of traffic here into the banked corner. Yeah, he's definitely going to lose some time there.
From his teammate as well.
Fourth, yeah, that's not what you want. Lots of wheel spin there. Very, very tricky corner to master that one, the banked corner. He's going to use all the track here on the left. Carries as much speed as he can through the fast right-hander. You used a lot of curb there. You really want to stay away from this curb here on the left. Tight inside line, use all the track. We'll push the car out to the right. Actually, it's taking a little bit of a tighter turn. Straight on the DRS. Now this section here is coming up to 3 cars. Again, very technical section of the track, very easy to invalidate there coming through the right-hander. Traction difficult here, straight on the power in 4th. Nice line there, hasn't used too much curb. Let's see if he takes the inside line here all the way through. No, uses a bit more of the track. And that's a 1:11.6 as a banker.
So I thought there was a bit of a glitch going on here, but it does look like we have a few guys running intermediate tyres. I don't know if this is a glitch right now, but it seems even Seb is on a set of wets. He's getting those tyres changed out now, but it's also Valhalla who's on an outlap who seems to be running wet tyres. So I'm not sure what's going on here.
So, interesting point. So what you'll find, so Tazza, for example, has done a 1:15.6 there on intermediates. Because of the Q1, 2 and 3 arrangement here, there is a massive tyre shortage. So it's a calculated decision these guys have used to use the intermediates and the wets.
Oh no!
Doesn't really seem like it makes sense, but given that the tyre shortage, you need to get through 3 qualifying sessions with enough soft tyres to get the laps done. So, for example, Taz is going to do what he can to get through Q1 on inters. Let's see if it can be done or not. If you can, he'll be laughing because he'll have an extra set of softs.
So keep an eye out, guys. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people on the intermediate tyres. So we're going to see a little bit of a battle. Who can do the best lap on the inters and the dry? So not the worst tyre to do it on, but not the most ideal compared to that super soft compound tyres. You can see Apex was able to get around this circuit with a 1:10.9 to start off with a pretty decent banker. As we see Tadachi coming around the final turns here, opens the rear wing DRS flap. Where can he put it? P7 on the inters. So it seems to be around the 1:15 marks is where those inter tyres are getting around the circuit right now. As we see Valhalla knocks up 10 seconds extra on the wet compound tyre. So we did see earlier he was getting quite sideways through a few of those turns. So not the most ideal with having the grooves in the tyres to normally disperse water.
Yeah, don't think that one's quite going to be enough for 125 there for Valhalla. He's going to have to onto a soft set pretty fast if he wants to make it through Q1. I think makes a very good point there in the chat. Given that the top 15 make it through Q1. It is only 2 drivers that are being knocked out, so the Inters there around the 115 may actually be fast enough to make it through Q1.
Yeah, well, this is something I've never seen before. I mean, obviously, this is our first time running through a full qualifying session, or it's mine anyway. It seems like you were pretty clued on what happened there. So these guys, it's actually a great test, I think. Going out on the Inters on your first sort of run, it'll probably sharpen your eyes up pretty quick and get your reactions going hard. So it's probably not a bad thing for these guys. A bit of fun as well. So pretty interesting.
Yeah, it just gives you a feel for the track, and Bassink makes another good point in chat there around the setup. So they want to put the Inters on just to get a feel for how the car's handling and responding throughout the first lap. And it just gives you a boost of confidence as well when you get onto the softs. So ABK's actually done a 1:11.6 on Inters. That is a rapid on that is very fast. Unless there is something wrong with my visual and that's not right.
Let's jump on board.
Sorry, unless he did that 1:11.6 on softs, it's just changed to Inters.
Oh, because he's gone on to the
That may be the case.
Right. Yeah, okay, well. So this is a little bit hard to keep track of because of the tyre changes, but we'll try our best here. So there's a few guys getting tyre changes now. We see YT getting some freshies on the Aston Martin. Jump on board to, it looks to be Dutchy, I think. Yes, it is. He is coming around the final bend to get a lap time in. So he looks maybe like he's on an out lap because... or he might have had a mistake.
He's got no battery. Yeah, he's got no battery here at all.
So he'll dive into the pits, less than likely. And then ABK, he's just invalidated his lap. And he's got a McLaren behind him. It might be Valhalla, I think. So
yeah, Valhalla's starting a lap now.
Sorry, Zilla, what do you think this extended qualifying session brings us, just as we see Valhalla go deep on the wets?
Very.
What do you see this full qualifying session bringing to the racing at ARL? Bit of a general question, but
it's a great time. I love it. I'm all for it. It's especially in the Div 1 where we've got the fastest guys in this league to shoot it out across 3 qualifying sessions. It's very tactical, having a full qualifying. As we've already talked about, the tyre strategies, how that's going to come into play. And I mean, yeah, it's going to make all the difference when it comes to the actual race. So I'm very curious to see how we end up. My prediction, heading into Q3, I know, yes, we're probably a little bit early to say it, but I reckon we're going to be pretty low 110s at the end of Q3 here tonight.
Yeah, awesome. So as we just jump on board with SV, he's done a purple first sector. Now, I don't know if he's using the same set of softs here. I bloody hope he is. But he looks to be turning the heat up. He didn't have the season he really wanted in Season 7 last time round, and he's looking to eradicate a few little mistakes he made and get back to his winning ways. He was an Academy champion back in Season 6, and he did quite an emphatic job. He was brand new to league racing, and he was managed to bring himself in and be quite competitive to start off with. So if he can eradicate a few issues with some consistency, he's definitely one to look out for, because he does have the pace to do so. He doesn't quite touch the time of Apex with the 1:10.951, but he puts a respectable time of 1:11.4 up there on some oldish soft tyres. So this kid can do it. He's got the pace to do so. If we go through our grid, as we see Dodgerino just beats that time by a couple hundredths of a second. Who have we got that's moved up into this division? We've got Tadachi. He was also a novice champion. He's in the pit lane at the moment. We've got Weru Boy, who's been an ARL regular for quite a long time now. And he reckons he's got the pace to do it, and I reckon he does too. Who's your favourite for this division right now, Zilla?
Oh, mate, that's a tough one. I like just thinking back to a couple of weeks ago where we commentated at Austria, and we witnessed great racing there from ABK, Ezekiel, Tiger, Ekem, Seb, Tazza. There's so many to mention. For me, I mean, it's round one of this shortened season. My money's probably on Tazza. I'm probably more excited to see Tazza put up a well hooked up lap. And I'm just riding on board with Philly here, Snoop.
Yep.
He's going to come across the line in a 1:11.4. That's a very respectable lap. He did put in a purple third sector. I was riding along with him from the start. It did look like a really well hooked up lap, but there's still heaps of time in that from him. Philly can definitely go a lot quicker than that.
Yeah, he's another one to look out for. He's been quick across all divisions that he's been involved with. And this will be a good challenge for him to see where he can put that car. Another thing that I like about the qualifying as well, we talk about this tyre use, right? And like real life, if you make a mistake, it's going to come back to haunt you because like grid position is quite an important thing. So if you make a mistake in one of these qualifying sessions, which eliminates you early, or it forces your hand to use another set of tyres, it's going to change the race strategy, which is quite exciting. As we see Seb just with a 1:10.768, so he's beaten the fastest of Apex by a couple of tenths. But yeah, I reckon the qualifying sessions add a bit of dynamic to the strategy as well.
It sure has, mate. And just looking at the time so far, we're just over 5 minutes left in Q1. And if we look between P5 and P10, it's separated by 3 tenths.
Yeah.
Not even 3 tenths across 5 or 6 positions. So you're right, the qualifying position is going to be mega important here. The tyre strategies there's not really much of a strategy here at Danville. It's you start on the hards, you start on the meds. Not many people are using softs from what we've seen the last 2 nights, just because the degradation is pretty brutal. But in saying that, there's a very, very high chance of a safety car here at Zandvoort, as we've seen from the last 2 nights. Safety cars in both events, and more than one safety cars at both events as well. So that's gonna come in key here as well tonight.
So we're on board with Tiger. Another one that's probably a candidate as well. If he can keep his nose clean and do some, get his elbows dirty and win some races, he's another one that could probably stretch us out. Like you said, it's a shortened season, so these guys don't have to necessarily be consistent over a huge amount of time. They've just got to nail a few of them together to get some results. And this is really going to, well, not really, it definitely is the last championship before we move over to the newest edition of the EA Formula 1 games coming with 23 expected to be released early July. As we see a little bit of shenanigans going on here between a couple of the boys.
They're just retiring themselves from the session because they're happy with their times. Now let's watch Tazza here. Snoopy's coming across the start-finish line now. I believe this is his first lap on softs. Perhaps he doesn't quite have the confidence on those inters on the 1:15.6 to get him through Q1. So he's chucked on the softs and he's going to put a lap in. So let's see what he can do.
Yeah, let's jump on board with Tazza. It's good to see this track on board. You don't really understand the undulation and the banking of this track until you jump on board. So coming down here, this big right hill, downhill right-hander can be a bit of a tricky one. You don't want to come too far in that curve. That gravel's very ominous out there. Get the rear end out there, you're going to be the one that causes that safety car Zilla was talking about. This section as well here, low gearing. You want to get your foot down on the throttle nice and early and power out pretty safely. You don't want that rear end. Very rear end loose track here at Zandvoort. So Tazza looking pretty decent so far. I think this effort will get him out of that P16 position, which eliminates him right now. Pretty nice. Just hugged that curve on the inside here for the final turns, and he's going to take the inside line on the exit, which is the preferred line, I'd say, and that'll bring Tazza to do a 1:11.446, which is a very good time to start off with here in Q1 tonight. We've got a few guys left at the Bowden track. Let's jump on board with Tadachi. He's one of the ones that's in the elimination zone right now, so he's had to come out and put another lap in. And it's also Valhalla, so they're the two we're going to keep an eye on. He tried his absolute hardest to use those wet tyres. But as you can see, he's still 10 seconds off the pace here.
Yeah, it just didn't quite work, unfortunately, that wet tyre strategy. And there's a few guys out on track now just about to set their last laps. They don't need to be the quickest lap, they just need to be fast enough to make it through.
Oh, so Tadachi's dived in, he's abandoned that lap. And
yeah, ABK's lost it as well in Sector 1, but he's safe for now in P12. But he may well be at risk because there's a few guys behind him still yet to finish their laps. So this is going to be very interesting to see how this unfolds at the end of this Q1 session.
So minute 35 to go here. We're on board with Valhalla, who's currently in the last relegation position. So as it stands right now, he's going to be out, but he's just set a purple sector here. So might be able to do something to sneak his way out if he keeps it clean in the final sector here. Goes around the Aston Martin traffic, moved out of the way nicely. Very courteous driving there. This should pull Valhalla into Q2. And, oh gee, I thought he was going to go into the pits then. And gets him into P11, so now Tadachi is... Tadachi and Weruboy, the two that will currently get relegated out of this session, won't make it into Q2, so they will have to start from the back of the grid as it stands. Who we still got going around?
Heading down that start-finish straight, as Valhalla was finishing his lap, Ezekiel was starting his lap. He had a tow all the way down the main straight. So he's starting, he's in Sector 2 at the moment. I've just missed that sector split. He's got all squirrely there, nearly all the way onto the curb. The curbs here at Zandvoort are very, very dangerous, so you do not want to be on any more curb than you need to be at this track, or else it's going to spin straight into the wall.
So it looks like Tadachi's accepted his fate in P7 and he hasn't come back out. Didn't allow enough time for him, so he will have to start from the back of the grid in the Haas. But right now we're running on board with the Zico. He's not in a relegated position, but he wants to get a better lap time here, just putting himself away from danger, just in case Weruboy pulls something out of the bag late. So Zico throws his teammate into the fire there and just goes up one position as...
I believe he's safe.
Yeah. Yep. So Weruboy, he has retired from the session, and it's him and Tadachi who will not make it into Q2.
Yeah, I was riding on board with Weruboy just at the end there. He was over a second and a half slower than his first sector, I believe. He did almost lose the car, so I think at that point he kind of just accepted the fate, unfortunately. So, yeah, as you said it, Weruboy, Tadachi out in Q1. And we'll just wait for the guys to retire their cars so we can get started onto Q2.
Yeah, so that's how it stands here for your Q2 session. And not a bad one to start off. So we've seen a little bit of weird strategy with the intermediate and wet tyres. We've seen Valhalla. He was the one that tried to take it all the way on the wet tyres and eventually had to succumb. But he's got himself in the top 10. So this is how it stands. We'll be back in just a moment with Q2.
No, there ain't no stopping us. Fly without boarding pass. Couldn't catch me, I'll be moving fast. Call me a shooting star. Let 'em know who you are. Flying up in a bar. Wish on a star. Time to show 'em who's in charge. Call me a shooting star. Didn't even get to cross.
So we're back here for Q2. So we've just seen a few guys getting their setups ready now. We see an Alpine coming out and we see a Mercedes down the back of the pit lane there. It's actually the front, depending on which way you want to look at it.
Who's first out of the grid here? It's Tazza actually. Is the first one out.
So Tazza, let's jump on board with him straight away. Let's have a look at his lap. So he's been dubbed as Zilla's favourite here, and we're going to keep a close eye on him in round one here. We speak about Austria, that last race we had in the elite division, the last elite division race we had, and his racecraft against Zakov was unbelievable. They had some great battles up at turn 4 and turns 5, and that track is really good for racing, but these guys were phenomenal. So Taz is in a prime position here to sort of take off where Zakov left the mark here. There's a big hole to fill, and somebody needs to win a championship, and there's going to be a few fighting for it. And he's definitely a top contender here. So Tazza is one of our stalwarts here in the ARL. He is a time trial bandit. He's got a few times that sort of float around the top 50 on the leaderboard. So if you do have a look when you're on time trials, you're more than likely to see his name somewhere. So we'll start this lap off here. He's going to give us a baseline for this Q2 session. Everybody on the soft tyres now, so no silly strategies with the inters to get them through. They're all about pace as he just catches that curb. And like Zilla said earlier, you can't be too trustworthy of the curbs here, and Taz has nearly found that out the hard way. So a great save from him, really, not to put that Alpine in the wall there, but geez, that was nervous.
Yeah, that's a really good save there. As we've seen the last 2 nights, you get too much curb on this track and it just punishes you like nothing else. So it is the kind of track where these guys are pushing their absolute limit. We're going to see who can keep it composed, who can keep it within the track limits and set the fastest laps. Like, that's where you're going to see your most, consistent drivers and guys that can, put the lap together properly. We've just seen ABK on the start of his hot lap actually go around, and he's almost blocked Apex, I believe it was, there starting his lap.
There's quite a train of guys in the second sector.
There's been contact. ABK, unfortunately, he's been in the way there. Seb coming through has made contact, and that's actually given ABK 5-place grid penalty for the race.
It's not what you want to start off with. As we see Ekin with a 1:11.147. Can Huey beat that? Gets pretty close to that. A pretty respectable time.
Yeah, I'd say they'll be happy with those times for bankers here in Q2. Kebab come through there with the 11.6. Valhalla 11.8. Who else is on a lap right now?
I think there's a Ferrari at the back. It might be Dutchy. No, he's just started one. He's out in a lap. So Dutchy, I'm a little bit unfamiliar with Dutchy. Do you know too much about this man, Zilla?
I know that he's been around a bit in the league racing community. I haven't had much to do with him myself, though. Just seen Apex come across the line, do a 10.7. That's a great lap from Apex. I dare say he'll be happy with that. Probably sit in the pit for a few minutes now. Doesn't really need to do another lap until the end here, if at all.
So he was known to be a bit of a time trial bandit as well. Old Apex, he was really one of the guys that was, again, like Tazza, herding the time trial sheets very easily and able to get a few out on the line. So I'm just getting a bit caught up here around the track trying to find somebody that's on a lap.
Yeah, Tazza's about to... Oh, is he about to come on the pits? No? He's finished the lap in a 1:11.9. He didn't have full battery, though, the entirety of that lap, so that's definitely not representative, but I don't think that's going to be fast enough to get him through the top 10 shootout here.
We'll jump on board with SV. He looks to be starting a lap now. He's used a little bit of battery on the way out in his out lap, so I know this track, you tend to be near next to nothing at the end of a lap, so he might be a little bit short towards the end here. We'll keep on board with SV and see where he can put this Williams, currently in the relegation positions. So anything past the top 10 here, outside of those, the top 10, is going to be eliminated going into Q3.
Oh, he's
wow.
gone very wide.
Lucky not to put that Williams in the wall and be out of the session. So again, like Zilla pointed out earlier, those curbs are absolutely unforgiving, and he just nearly paid the full price. So a little bit squirrely for him. He's going to have to go get a fresh set of tyres, I'd imagine, as well. Again, it's Dodgerino takes too much of the curbs as well. So a little bit of contingency coming in here, and some of the guys are starting to get a little bit happy, trying to push hard to get out. As I just say that, he's just put his foot down again and lost the front wing of that Red Bull.
Geez.
So I think the pressure of this qualifying format might be playing a little bit of Joker brain in some of these guys' heads, because I think it's putting a little bit too much pressure on.
Oh, mate, riding on board with Svit there for his lap. Now, his first sector, he actually pulled a 24.6 in his first sector. That is a really quick sector one. And unfortunately, it all came undone immediately. So he's going to be very unhappy with that, because that first sector was a really fast sector one. Tiger comes across the line at a 1:10.699. As he's taken away that P1 from Apex, he'll be pretty happy with that.
That's a really quick lap. I'm surprised, to be honest. That was sort of caught me off guard. We'll jump on board here with ABK, who's currently going to get relegated. He's got 8 minutes to try and get that red Ferrari into Q3. So far, ABK, I mean, he was sort of in and around the top 5 in the first session, so maybe he hasn't been able to string one together so far again. So this track is starting to prove havoc for a few of the drivers here in Div 1. The rear end seems to be a little bit too loose.
He got very lucky with that one. He managed to catch it, and he was able to stay on the track completely. And luckily, the Mercedes there of Tiger was able to get past him without any contact. That's really not what you want in ABK's situation here, Snoop, because the tyre allocation for this qualifying, it's very minimal. So you really need to make every single lap count on these soft tyres, or else you're going to have to come out on softs that are 10 to 12% usage, and you're not going to get the fastest out of them. So really not what you want.
Nah, not at all. So a few guys diving into the pits now just to make a few setup changes. I would imagine there's not much they can really do now. Maybe some tyre pressure issues going on. Maybe they're going to put a few more clicks on the front wing. But we're seeing a lot of guys, especially here down in the second sector, where it's very topsy-turvy. And these curbs, if you're just running a little bit too wide, the car tends to understeer, and you find yourself out in the rocks. And if it doesn't understeer, and you're on the curb, then it's going to flick the rear end out. So as we see, Huey here's opened that rear wing to try and get himself a little bit further out of danger. But so far, with a 1:11.3, I would say he's pretty safe. Now, here's a tactic question for you, Zilla. At what point do you know that your time is going to be good enough to try and save a U set for at the start of Q3? So you've got a really nice set for the end of Q3 where it's all gripped up. You can go out in a fresh set. Because, like, if I was Tiger or Apex, I mean, Apex is coming out to do another lap. With a 1:10.7, is it really that good of an idea to come and use those tyres again when you could save that run? Because even if he lost 5 positions, he's not going to be out of the top 10. So
yeah, it's a tough one. I think the drivers are going to be using the Q1 session as representative times to get a feel for where everyone's at. Anywhere between sort of P6 onwards are probably going to want to do another lap just to be safe. Now, just slightly changing the topic here, just riding on board with Svit. This is going to be his first representative time. Now, I mentioned a few minutes ago, he did a 24.6 in his first sector just before he binned it. He's actually done the same sector 1 time this lap. So let's see what he does as he comes across the line. It's a 1:10.8. That's a great lap from Svit. He'll be very happy with that.
So that's what he'd want. That's what he'd expect of himself as well. He can do better than that, and I know he can string them together. So as we see Tazza here, who's out of Q3 as it stands at the moment as well. So So far, Valhalla, Tazza, Combined YT, and Dodgerino are the boys that need to do something to get themselves into this next session. So we're right on board with Tazza now. Can he do it? He's fully used his deploy, and he goes into P5, so that's a very respectable time of a 1:11.1 there. That'll be enough to scoot his way through. Jump on
that's
board.
comfortable. You'll be happy with that.
So we got Kebab coming out to start a lap. Who else is out? We've got ABK who's in the first. Oh no, he's just come in like that. We'll jump back on board with Kebab. There's a little bit of a train out the back, which we'll keep our eye on for when they're ready to do their laps. Looks like there might be...
Yeah, Seb's about a lap here, Snoop. He's just turned on the ERS. He's on the main straight right now.
So Seb, he's normally one that's pretty quick, and he loves to be around the action as well. So he'll be looking to get that Alpine a little bit further up the grid and give himself a chance off the start line.
Yeah, the guys are going to be coming out now. In the next sort of 40 seconds or so, we should see most of the grid come back for their final lap. Seb does a 24.6 first sector. So that's on par with top 4. Let's see if we can hold it together for the rest of this lap. That's the hard part around here, right?
Yes, it is. Consistency is key. And especially, again, like you mentioned earlier, these curbs, it doesn't take much of a mistake to ruin a lap. So far, so good by the looks.
Yeah, he's used all the track there in that right-hander, which is the best way to take that corner. Battery usage here at Zandvoort is absolutely brutal. As we can see, coming across the line pretty much with no battery left whatsoever, starting at 100%. So, what can he do? P1, 1:10.6. It's a great lap.
1:10.6, a really quick lap. Almost beats Tiger by a tenth there, or close to. And speaking of Tiger, his teammate Ekim was just out on a lap. And starts one now, sorry. So we'll see if he can get a little bit further up the grid. So as it stands, Valhalla combined, Dodgerino and ABK are the ones we're going to keep our eyes on with not long in this session to go. They're the ones that have got to fight to get out here. So we might have a look on board. It looks like Valhalla he's currently closest to the front. No, it's his teammate Kebab, but we'll keep on board with Valhalla. So he's another driver as well we talked about. He was my brother's first teammate in the ARL back in the novice days in season 5, I believe, is when they were running together. And he's quite a consistent driver, great racecraft. So I'm interested to see where he can put it as the Alfa Romeo stops right in the middle of the track.
Yeah, he's gone 4 tenths up there in the second sector, has Valhalla. So let's see where that puts him. He really needs to be sort of top 7 or 8 here to feel comfortable.
Oof.
He's P10, that's dangerous.
That's literally probably the worst position you could bring yourself out to. I'd rather be eliminated, to be honest, straight away. As Ekim with a 1:10.583, so he's obliterated the time that was originally set by Tiger, and now Seb's time even looks a little bit slow compared to that. Still very respectable, but that's a belter.
What a lap. You know, Snoop, what makes that lap even the more impressive from Ekim?
The traffic.
No, it's done on controller.
No, I always forget the controller guys.
Yeah, Ekim's on controller.
They've got something about them that no one else has. It's kind of like a Ayrton Senna type attitude to be able to race on that controller, because I wouldn't have the patience to do so. So this is one of the... So Valhalla finds himself back into the relegated positions. We've got a few guys out and about. I think Dutchy is probably ahead of him here. And he is. He's coming around the back of the circuit here. And he's got not too much ERS left, so that indicates he's out on his lap at the moment.
Now, Dutchy's up here. Sorry to talk over you there. I'm just watching Dutchy. He's 2 tenths up. Is he going to knock Tazza? He's knocked Tazza into P10 here.
So, where Tazza's out on track, is he on a lap?
Is he safe?
Oh,
I think he's safe.
He's going to cop that unless ABK. We jump on board with ABK because he's the only one that can do it, apart from Azeko. Oh, Azeko, no, he's finished. So ABK, and he's retired by the looks of it. This lap looks abandoned. I don't know what happened there, but it looked like he slowed right off.
Yeah, they've just manually retired the cars at the end there. It just gets the session over faster. Tazza has... he's got away very lucky there.
Oh.
2400s from getting knocked out of Q2.
Wow. So, the end of Q2, it sees ABK, Valhalla, and Azeko are the ones that are out in Q2. And it's Ekim who tops Q2 session with a 1:10.583. So, coming into this next session, a little bit less time, but these guys will be wanting hitting that time, and that's a big statement from Ekim. Coming out of nowhere, basically, with the quickest lap we've seen all day, probably all week, I'd imagine, as well, in Div 1 here. So very competitive for pole position. There's only a few tenths between the guys that are running in the 110s at the moment, but Ekim looks very, very quick.
Yeah, he sure does. It's disappointing, actually, to see ABK and Azeko out in Q2. I certainly expected them to be a little bit higher up the grid, so it just goes to show the pressure under this qualifying format and the strategy that goes into the tyre usage. So, yeah, that's our top 10. Into Q3 we go.
I love this statement here from Wheezy in the chat. He says, I'm sure he's referring to Ekim on the controller. This bro is goated on the sticks. That's awesome. So, yeah, Ekim, the man on the sticks, has done an impressive job here. To get ahead of Seb and Tiger, the guys that were setting quick times, and Apex as well. So we'll be back in just a sec with Q3.
No, there ain't no stopping us. Fly without boarding pass. Couldn't catch me, I'll be moving fast. Call me a shooting star. Let 'em know who you are. Flying up in a bar. Wish on a star. Time to show 'em who's in charge. Call me a shooting star.
Here we are back, and we're out on track here for Q3. It's the top 10 shootout, the first Div 1 top 10 shootout here in the ARL, and it's gonna be a belter. We've got Dutchy, the first man to get his car out on track, so he's gonna be able to sight this track first here and give us a baseline of where we're looking for. But in the last session, Ekim with a 1:10.583 was what the time was. Was able to show his stuff on the sticks, as Wheezy pointed out in the chat, and it's going to be a belter, Zilla, top 10.
Yeah, absolutely, and starting Q3, the track's going to be very nicely primed towards the middle to end of this session. So, as I stated at the start of Q1, hopefully we do see the very low 10s at the end of Q3, and Dutchy's going to be the first one to take us onto a lap.
So Dutchy managed to scrape himself in there, and he put a very good time in to put himself up to P6. He was looking a little bit ominous towards the back end of that session, was floating around sort of towards the 10th position region, and then came out with a nice lap here to get himself in. So he's going to enjoy this. Really, anywhere inside this top 10 is a pretty nice spot to start. Obviously, the further up the grid, the better chance you have of getting that first position at turn 1, as Will Buxton would say, for all the Drive to Survive watchers out there. So it gets a little bit squirrely on the exit of turn 1. Looks to bring it in pretty nicely here of this big bowl corner. It's probably one of the hardest to stay fast through of the circuits we have around the ARL. So Dodgerino's just been stitched up with a disqualification because he was blocking the pit lane. And I'm sure he was only doing that to wait to let other drivers out. So he's going to have to start from P10, unfortunately. And that's one thing I hope they fix with the new game. It's a bit hard coming out of the pit lane exit there when there's a few cars on the lap, so that's unfortunate for him. Of no fault of his own, just doing the right thing to try and avoid messing up any driver's laps. But so far, Dutchy looks pretty clean so far, apart from that one little hiccup of oversteer at turn 1. We'll see what he can do as a banker. So sort of around the low 111s, I'd say, would be a pretty decent banker. If you can scratch the 110s, as he goes a 111.3. So not the quickest lap we'll see in this session. Definitely not the slowest either, I wouldn't imagine. As we jump on board with a few other guys that are coming around the back of the paddock here, we'll go on with Apex. He's just about to cross the line. So these guys are just sort of getting the time. So Tazza so far has been the quickest, but the top 3 here are separated by a fingernail at the moment.
Yeah, very, very close starting this Q3 session. Just talking about that banked corner, Snoop. I mean, I'm sure a lot of other people would agree. It is one of the hardest corners on the calendar to carry some speed through there and not lose the rear end of the car. Very, very technical corner. So tonight we'll see who can be the quickest through there. And there's a lot of lap time to be found just through that corner alone. So can be the difference between pole and not pole tonight.
Yeah, especially when you're battling too, it can be quite hard if you're used to taking the inside line and how the car reacts to that inside line. When you have to go wide around that corner, it can be very easy to get the rear end kicking out. Especially when you're battling, you want to get on the throttle early and everything in your brain is telling you to plant your foot. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys navigate that corner tonight. As we see Tiger, he's setting purple sectors everywhere on this track. Looks like a Prince concert on the map here, but so far he's bringing around the final turns here and we can see what Tiger can do. We know he's got pace inside that Mercedes. Can he extract it? He does with a 110.74. So again, wasn't the quickest time, but his banker, that's a great banker. Especially with the grip that would be on this track right now. He's not far off that 110.5 that we've seen Seb set earlier. And speaking of Seb, we'll jump on with him now and see where he can put that Alpine.
Yeah, I was just watching. I was actually riding on board with Seb. Just before the DRS activation zone, he did have a big snap of understeer actually, and he's nearly lost the car there on the curb. You really can't be touching that inside curb. It'll spit the car straight off the track. So he's very fortunate to hold that together. 111.3. Considering the mistakes made through that lap, that's a very good lap.
Whoa! So Huey out of nowhere.
Huey.
That's a great lap. Huey out of nowhere sets a 110.57, and wow, that's a crazy banker.
Yep, Ekham's right behind him too in a 110.7. Just crossed the line himself.
So Huey, he wasn't really pushing the issue in Q2 or Q1 with lap times. He was obviously making his way through the sessions pretty comfortably, but that is a huge surprise. So well done to Huey. That's amazing. So he was completely off my radar just then, to be honest. And now he's just come out and given us a 110.5. So great effort from him.
Yeah, that's an unreal lap. And just having a look around the track here, so no one else is on a lap right now. So 5.5 minutes left in this session, Q3 session. Dodgerino has unfortunately been disqualified. Huey P1 with a 110.5. I might be eating my words and saying that may actually be hard to beat tonight, given what we've seen so far.
Yeah, look, I'm sort of with you there as well. To come out and do that early, it's going to put pressure on the rest of the grid now to have to replicate that time. And Ekem was the only one that previously got that in the 5s, so the 110.5s. So, yeah, very interesting here. There's going to be no cars on track. I'm sure Ekem's going to come and pit this Mercedes, as he does. So while we got no one on the grid, we see, like Zilla just said, Huey, a very, very competitive time of a 110.5. So it does put a bit of pressure on. I'm interested to see if anybody can beat that. If someone's going to beat it, do you reckon they'll beat this by much, Zilla? Or do you reckon it's going to be, again, we're talking toenails and fingernails here?
Yeah, I think if anyone's going to beat that 110.5, it's going to be someone that has another fresh set of softs. So right at the end of this Q3 session, this is where the tyre allocation is going to come into play. We're going to be seeing guys coming out on old used softs trying to improve their lap. That's going to be very challenging. I'll be very interested to see who has a fresh set of softs left
Yes.
at the end of this session. So I dare say Huey's just used his last at that 110.5. So
Yeah.
let's see what these boys can do right at the end of this session.
So 4 minutes to go here in the first Q3 session of the Division 1 league racing here for the ARL. It's about to be, well, I was going to say a top 10 shootout, but Dodgerino got stitched up. So we're about to see a top 9 shootout here in Q3. It's going to be pretty tight, I'd imagine, between our top 6. Even down to Seb, they were putting in low 110s in that section before. Dutchy was probably the only one that wasn't really on that pace. So this could, I mean, I dare say Huey's time is up there not to be beaten, but Ekim, Tiger, Tazar, even Apex as well, is definitely a chance of beating that. So interesting to see here. We're going to jump on board with Dutchy. He's currently in P9. And there's a few cars coming out now. I reckon people will probably leave it a little bit later just to get a little bit more grip. But these guys are going to have a nice free air track to themselves. Bit of space. So we can see Dutchy just getting some heat into his tyres right now. So behind him it looks to be SV. He's currently sitting in P5, pretty there. So it's nice to see Williams this far up in the grid in a virtual space. We don't see it too often in real life.
Yeah, it's great to see, and it's funny because just before this session, Spit was having a joke about after he gets knocked out in Q1, he'll kind of have a chat with us in commentary, and here he is now, currently end of Q3, so he's done pretty damn well.
No, credit to him. He doesn't give himself enough credit. He is still pretty young, and like I said, he makes a few mistakes, but he's got pace, the young man. So I'm interested to see if this Div 1 competition will bring out the consistency in him. So we'll jump on board with Dutchy. He's going to be the first one to set the time in this final part of qualifying here in the Q3 session.
Yeah, the timing is terrible starting this lap too, because he's about to run into 3 cars by turn 3. Let's see if they get out of his way. Coming around 3rd corner here. Yep, he's got a clear space through the banked corner. On the power early, try and keep the rear together. He's done that really well.
So same with SV. He's going to be banked up in the traffic as well, but everyone's so far doing a great job at giving these guys on their hot lap some room.
Yeah, just watching Dutchy there's done a 24/7 through the first sector, so definitely not the session best, but it is a personal best for him so far. He's had really good traction there through the second DRS and he's kept the car together very nicely. Yes, he's actually improved nearly 3/10 up on that lap, so if he can hold this together...
And he had a purple sector there as well.
He did. Second sector was purple. Absolutely no battery left at the end of this lap. 110.9. That's P4 for Dutchy. Provisional P4.
So SV gets into P2 with a 110.7, so he'll be happy with that. That's a great improvement on his time.
Now, the provisional pole sitter Huey is coming around the last corner now. He's going to set his last lap of the session. Just approaching turn 1 now. Let's see what he can do.
Keep an eye on him.
Using all the track.
I think we've got it's Tazza.
He's lost it. No, he's lost it. He's had to back out of that lap, unfortunately.
So we've got Tazza coming around the final turn here. It's got quite a bit of battery. Dazzy gets too far on the curb and puts that Alpine around. He's going to have to get it out of the way quick because there's a couple cars coming around here. It looks like it might be SV who's had to stop. There's been a little bit of something happening at the back sector there, and there's cars everywhere. And there's final turn! Huge contact! So Kebab just ran into the rear end there.
It's gone P1. It's a 110.4.
So, in all the carnage, we've missed the pole position lap, and it looks like we've maybe who else is up?
Beckham! Eckham's done a 1:10.3,
So
Stu.
we've got Tiger. He's the only one left that can complete a lap, and he gets a little bit squirrely. So can he beat this time? Tiger's the only one. Huey as well has got to come around as well. So where can Tiger put it? Doesn't get close. Can Huey? And no, he's done a slow lap. So it's Eckham from the depths, and in all the carnage there, he caught us off guard, and he's done a 1:10.4 almost, just on the dot with Apex and a 1:10.4.454. So absolute carnage at the end of the session there. We've seen lots of collision. There's a few grid penalties, but what a time that was from Eckham, just out of nowhere. And wow.
I need a minute to digest that last 2 minutes of Q3.
Just very sketchy at the end there, as Asa said in the chat. So Eckham comes home with a 1:10.399, only 5 thousandths of a second ahead of Apex. So there was carnage there, just absolute carnage. We see Dutchy and Kebab were the two that made contact. They're the ones with 5 position grid penalties, so they're going to seep down into the grid a little bit. But pole position goes to Eckham, so
what a lap.
Absolutely crazy. We'll be back in just a moment with the start of the race.
No, there ain't no stopping us. Fly without boarding pass. Couldn't catch me, I'll be moving fast. Call me a shooting star. Let 'em know who you are. Flying up in a bar. Wish on a star. Time to show 'em who's in charge. Call me a shooting star. Didn't even get to cross.
We are back here, and we're just going to get ready to go on our formation lap. Zilla, what's your predictions here? What do you reckon after that crazy Q3 qualifying session?
Oh, geez. First of all, it's going to be interesting to see tyre strategy, at least from the top 10. We'll see what the guys decide to start with tonight. As far as predictions go, oh, geez. It's so tight at the front end here tonight. It can be anyone's race. When you've got the unknowns of safety cars highly likely here in this track. Eckham's certainly got the pace, but absolutely cannot ride off the likes of Apex, Huey, Tiger, Seb, Tazza, even Svit. All these boys are quick, so it's going to be a really, really tough one to predict tonight. I'm just having a quick look at the tyre choices. So I'm just looking on my screen. Okay, so Eckham and Apex are starting on hards. Huey's on the meds, and then P4 to 6 is hards. Taz is on mediums. 8 to 11 is on hards, and then we've got a mixture of mediums and hards for the remaining 6 drivers.
Yeah, so quite a bit going on with the tyres here. There's quite a mixture between the grid. I mean, there's a lot of people on hards, and there's a few mediums scattered in between there, but not a set in stone strategy between the top runners. They've all sort of got, I mean, it seems hards are the options, but there's a few guys there. Tazza, Huey are the two inside the top 10 that have opted on to the meds.
Yeah, interesting to see Huey on the meds. We know how fast he is. So the thing is, on Zandvoort, the hards do take a good couple of laps to get into their prime, probably even 4 or 5 laps to properly bed in. So Huey has a great opportunity here to get some positions off the line and try and run away and build. So let's see if he can manage that or not tonight.
So we're just forming up the grid here for the first Division 1 race here at the ARL. It's been revamped for your entertainment, and so far it's proved to be pretty cracking. The guys here in the Division 1 League, we're just about to get it underway here for our race at Netherlands Zandvoort track, the Dutch track currently owned by the reigning world champion Max Verstappen. He's made this place his absolute haven, and we're about to get underway here. So Apex is parked on quite a steep angle, and it seems to be he got a good getaway. Hard to see from this angle, but Ekim was a lot better. Huey, Tazza, they're all jostling for positions here. Apex goes down the inside, but so far so good. All these guys nice and tidy through turn one. So Ekim gets away nicely. Apex so far. Oh, look at the carnage at the back there. So Apex was tagged by, I think he might have been tagged by Huey or Tazza. Just missed the end of it there. But that was lucky not to lose it. So Apex really lucky not to lose the car there and get damaged. I think he's okay.
Yeah, there was a little bit of contact there from Tazza in the rear. He only just touched the back of the car. Just from the start there, Snoop, Tazza had a blinding start. He came flying around the outside into turn one, and he took 2 positions straight through the first corner.
Oh, so Dutchy's gone around. Someone's gone around here.
Yeah, it's the McLaren of Valhalla, actually. There's actually a couple of cars here. There's Dutchy, Valhalla involved in a bit of a spin there at the back.
So Tadachi just goes up on the inside of his teammate. There's a little bit of battle here for P9. Look at all the cars behind here.
Oh, what's going on here?
So someone's got damage, I don't know. Tadachi was maybe had to redress position there and had to give back through a time penalty. It's a bit of an odd one there. As we jump back to the front of the pack, is Huey and Tazza going toe-to-toe at turn one. And Huey's got the line around the outside, but Apex, Tazza's going to take it and just snatches that away from him. Dodgerino, DNF.
Yep. Was that on track though? No, that's in the pits.
I think it's a retirement. My bad.
Bad rear wing damage. Unfortunately, Valhalla lost the car there, and he was out at the start of the last sector. He's coming into the pits now himself.
So Tazza is got a little bit of pressure from Huey here. The 2 medium runners, they're going to want to use this pace early. They're slowly reeling in that Mercedes out in front of Ekin, the man on the sticks. So these guys want to probably get him out of the way, I'd say, with the pace of the mediums and run out into a little bit of free air.
Yeah, the hards can go pretty far here. It's Anvil. They have a little bit of a peak at the end. At around that 21 to 23 lap old on those hards, they actually get, oddly enough, a little bit quicker right at the end of their lifespan. So Ekim's gonna try and warm these tyres up as fast as he possibly can, if he's got any hope of keeping the lead, as DRS is now enabled.
So Taz is slowly reeling him in here. 3/10 that last lap he brought him into. And it looks like Taz is starting to get these mediums working very nicely. And around that first sector of the track can be quite tricky, but Ekim's still doing a good job on the hard compound tire to keep a little bit of a gap, but I think this might be a matter of time before Tazza gets the job done, especially with that 8 of DRS. As soon as he gets on that back straight, it's going to be a big help.
Yeah, just watching the gap here, Snoop, the top 8 have really broken away here. There's a massive gap, 6.5 seconds between P8 and P9. Not sure if that was related to the incident there with a couple of cars, but they're going to really want to try and close that gap up, or else their races are going to be at jeopardy here for sure. Yeah,
I think it was Dutchy in the Alfa Romeo that spun around and Valhalla collected him, and I think a few drivers avoiding that crash probably slowed down. I think that's what's created the big gap, because Dutchy was in and around that, he would have been around that position when he was in Q3, so unfortunate for him, but there's a long way to go. So Tazza is on the money here. The DRS didn't really pull him too far in, but now we're seeing the effects of that. Ekham's still doing a really good job. They're sort of starting to leave Huey behind a little bit. So Huey's got to tack on the back of Tazza here to keep in that DRS range. But so far so good. We've only had one retirement. I'm not sure what damage Dodgerino sustained. Maybe some rear wing damage or floor damage. And floor damage on this track is just horrible to drive with. It's almost, a little bit reckless to continue with it. So he's probably done the right thing there. So not the day for Dodgerino that he would have hoped for here in round one.
Yeah, unfortunately Dodge did have, I believe, full car damage. Basink in the chat just saying his entire car was orange. So
wow,
that's a automatic DNF there. You do not want to try and race with a full car orange. So that's unfortunate for him.
Yeah, very unfortunate, and he got, like we said, he got eliminated in qualifying in Q3 there. He'd done a good job to get himself in, and unfortunately, out of no fault of his own, he was relegated to that 10th position due to a penalty. So hopefully we'll see him back next week, and he can put something and show us what he's made of. So far, it seems to be this battle of Ekim and Tazza on track at the moment is what's catching our eye. Tazza on the mediums is not making too many inroads on Ekim as I thought he was going to. It looked like he had those mediums working pretty nicely. Looked like everything was going to be a matter of time before he made this, and all of a sudden, even under DRS, not able to make a huge dent on Ekim.
Yeah, it's Zandvoort's another tricky one for battery usage, Snoop. So as we saw in quali, once you use the battery, it's pretty much gone. It takes a long time to recoup the energy recovery. So this top 7 that's in DRS, they're really going to want to do everything they can to stay in that DRS zone. And the hard runners are really going to benefit most here because they're just going to get pulled along, and then those mediums are going to degrade, and the hard strategy will probably come into its own at that point. So
yeah, 100%. Somebody who's making inroads is Apex on the hard tyres. He is making some good ground on these guys. He looks nice and relaxed on that hard compound tyre, and he's making some good lap times. I think he currently still holds the fastest lap time. It was a very high 1:13, which is quite quick on that compound. So he's looking to just tack on the back of this group and let them do all the hard work. He'll be pulled along with DRS. He still has Seb and Tiger and SV all sort of within touching distance. So all these guys are really one mistake away from losing anywhere between 2 to 4 positions. So it's pretty tight at the front.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. I was just about to say, this track is all about consistency. And as soon as you make one mistake, you're going to lose several positions. So these guys are going to be concentrating like crazy for the next 30 laps.
Yeah, it's actually crazy to look at on the full track map right now. It looks like a snake's going around the middle section of the circuit here.
Yeah, unfortunately the gap between Kebab and Combined is increasing. So Combined not really able to increase the pace there, and he's dragging a pretty big train behind him with Zico, Philly, ABK, Dutchy and Tadachi all behind him in very, very close succession. Tazza comes across the line, 1:13.7, new fastest lap. On those mediums, he's actually 3/10 now behind Ekim, but he's used a lot more of his battery, so he really needs to get this move done.
So we jump on board. We are on board with Tazza. Huey at the moment just went a little bit wide there, and that's going to allow Apex to get a little bit of a run on it. He's done all right with his battery usage. He's at about 60%. Apex, he's down to 35%. Seb's at about 60. Tiger's at 71. That's great for him. And SV is at 30%. So there's a few different deployment strategies of that ERS system, but so far it seems to be the guys that are on the mediums are trying to get this position done on Ekim. But Ekim on the sticks again. I'm going to wear that one out tonight for sure. He's out in front, looking very comfortable.
It's such a good saying, though. I mean, I'm sure no one would complain if we keep. It's a great saying. Just watching here, Snoop, Tiger has broken away from Svit. So he's broken out of that 1 second zone. So Svit no longer has DRS. So that's a really big thing for him. He really needs to try and reduce that gap if he can. But Tiger is not a very easy driver to chase, that's for sure.
Yeah, he must have made a mistake because he was right on the back of those guys. So I reckon he's slipped up there, SV. So he'll be kicking himself about that one because he was actually in a pretty decent position. Even though he was in P7, he was probably the last one on the back of the pack. So now he's going to have to fight to keep Kebab from catching up to him and overtaking him.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because as soon as you're outside of that DRS zone, you've got to use your battery.
Yeah.
Along with raw skill to try and reduce the gap. But like I said before, once that battery is depleted, it's very, very hard to get it back.
And speaking of depleted, it looks like these medium tyres are dropping off a little bit earlier than what I expected. I don't know if Taz is getting on the throttle a little bit earlier than he usually does, but I've just noticed on a few of these laps, he's getting the rear end of that Alpine out a little bit more often than you'd want to, considering the degradation of this track. So we'll keep an eye on him. It looks like he's the crossover between the medium's been the optimal tyre and the hard's been the optimal tyre is starting to happen now. I think it looks like even with DRS, Ekham's sitting pretty comfortably out in front, and he's not too fussed by the looks of it. Whereas it looks like Tazza and Huey are really pushing to keep with him.
Yeah, the DRS really just isn't that powerful in this track, and you will see the drivers do run a combination of different wings set up here. Those that are opting for the lower wings are a lot faster down the straight, even with DRS. Very, very difficult to overtake. So this track really does come to consistency, as unfortunately Valhalla's lost the car in Sector 1. As the train is about to come right up behind him, Valhalla does have rear wing damage as well, so his race is all but over, unfortunately. He's doing his best to keep out of the way at the moment as the pack comes through. Yeah, he's managed to keep out of the way there, so good job to him.
Yeah, so interesting to see what happens now. Taz is caught right up to the back of Ekam again, but Huey was putting some pressure as well. So I wonder if Huey's just going to sit, or... Because obviously if he attacks, it's going to allow Ekam to go out and have a little bit more free air if they're battling each other. So far it looks like he's done everything he can to work with Tazza. But if he feels like he needs to make the move on Tazza to have a run at Ekam himself, it might allow Ekam to run off into the distance a little bit, because it seems like Huey is getting right on the rear of Tazza. So we jump on board with him. He gets nice and close on the back of the Alpine machine. And again, Tazza getting a little bit squarely on the exit of that bold, horrendous turn. It's one of the ones that you either love it or hate it, and it seems that Taz's car is not enjoying it too much at the moment. A little bit of understeer through that turn as well, the big right-handed downhill. A lot of off-camber turns here at Zandvoort.
Yeah, Huey looks like he's got a little bit more confidence in the car here on those meds that are going to start to go off in the next 3 to 5 laps, and this is a point now where those hards are going to be pretty much at their peak, at their optimal performance in the next few laps. So interested to see how much Tazza falls off the back of Ekam, but that DRS is certainly helping him stay within that 1 second gap. But let's see if Ekam can actually build a bit of a gap here or not.
And speaking of gaps, even SV now, he's dropped 2.2 seconds off the back of the front 6 here. As you can see, he's just out in the distance behind Tiger. So that gap is going to be hard to pull in as well, because I'm sure SV's probably maxed out his ARS usage and he's deployed it all. So that gap after Kebab is a massive gap as well. It's nearly 9 seconds now. So the whole back end of the field is quite separated, and then the top 6 here are the ones really jostling. They're all, 5/10 off the back of each car almost. So Tiger's sitting pretty at the back there. I'm sure he's just biding his time as it's so close. And let's quickly jump on board with him. I want to see how much battery he's got. He's running at about 62. Seb is running at about 37%. Got Apex at 22. Huey at about 50%. That's a solid effort from him, chasing on the back of Tazza. And then Tazza and Ekam are running at close to about 30% each.
Yeah, very interesting. It's so difficult to overtake here at Zandvoort, especially when all these guys are at similar pace levels. As soon as you get into that DRS train and, with a very limited battery usage that you can, super hard to overtake, so. Apex has done really well to stay on the back of Huey, and same with Seb. With a massive battery advantage there, all within that 1 second gap. There's really not a lot happening here actually in the top 6 right now. So let's see what's happening a bit further back down the grid. Dutchy and ABK or P13 are pretty close. Both have absolutely no battery whatsoever on those guys.
A bit of squabble for bragging rights here, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
So down the back, it is Tadachi, who's way off the back of Dutchy, 3 seconds, and then Weruboy and Valhalla, who are almost a lap down. I know Valhalla he's been lapped already, and Weruboy will be getting close to that point as well, I'd imagine. So still pretty tight up the front, but Ekam's done an amazing job here on that hard compound tyre. It's going to work in his favour for this race strategy for him. because he's nailed these guys on the mediums down, and he's probably hasn't done too much. His tyres out front, he's been in free air, just cruising out the front. What it feels like, he hasn't pushed. I haven't seen his car get squirrely anywhere. It hasn't looked like he's put too much effort in. I mean, I'm sure he is, but he's looking quite smooth at the moment.
Yeah, and also, Snoop, at this point, this is where the safety car window is open for those medium runners. So if there is a safety car at this point, these guys on the mediums are going to be absolutely cheering. On the other hand, it's a bit more challenging if you're on the hards and you get a safety car at this point of the race, considering you can easily go 23 laps on those hards. So, so far, the guys have kept it really clean at the start of this race. There's only couple of incidents in the first lap, but apart from that, there really hasn't been much to talk about in terms of incidents. So I'll be interested to see if it stays like that for the rest of this race, or if we have a surprise safety car along the way.
Yeah, I think if we did have a safety car, I think it'd be similar to our last round in Austria, where we had a couple of guys trying to extend their stints on the tyres and take them a little bit further to get a little bit of overlap, or maybe even an undercut. So far, like you said, Zilla, everyone's looked pretty nice, pretty consistent, and that's shown through this right now. There's 6 drivers here within 5/10 of each other, which we don't see all too often, so this is a great showing from these drivers. But I'm sure if it stays like this towards the end of the race, the elbows will come out a little bit more. They're all staying consistent right now. As we see, Huey just gets pretty close to Tazza. So, interesting to see, but...
Yeah, At this point of the race as well, Snoop, this is where pit stop strategy is going to come into play, because, you know, out of the top 6, we've got Taz and Huey, both on those mediums, 13 laps old tyres. Who's going to pull the trigger first? As we do get a yellow sector 1, that is for a McLaren.
It might be Valhalla again slowing down for blue flags, I think.
Yeah, I believe that's all it was. So, as I was saying, let's see, between Taz and Huey, who's going to be the first to pull the trigger on that early pit stop? Or if they want to go a bit later into the race, that's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out.
I think that's Weary Boy.
Taz has gone around.
Taz has gone around. Of course, I just missed that. So Weary Boy's gone around at turn 1, and now Tazza has gone around at turn 7.
Oh, no.
So we did speak about this at Austria, didn't we, Zilla? He was fighting with Zakov all race, and at the crunch
Apex
time...
has taken Huey. Sorry, Snoop. Apex has just taken Huey just before turn 3. Huey had a massive snap of understeer, and Huey stopped straight through into turn 3, now into P2.
So we're on board here with Apex, who's getting crunched now. A little bit of chain reaction here after Tazza went around and opened the door. He was sort of the gatekeeper of Fernando Alonso type moves, like Monaco, and now it's opened the doors. Everything's sort of unleashed here. So Huey's on the back of Apex, and he's the first hard runner to get past these medium guys. So can Huey launch an attack back on Apex? I don't. With the way Huey and Tazza were sort of driving, then it's going to be hard to see if they'll be able to make it back. And Tazza, look at him. He's 8 seconds off the back of P7, so he's going to be crossing his eyes, fingers, and toes for a safety car right now. But again, Tazza not able to convert, as we were talking about it before. He was one of the ones that at Austria was showing immense pace, and just when the tyres start to lose their grip, he went around as, who's that? That's gone off into the
Huey's
pit lane.
come in.
So
Huey's gone in for his pit stops. No. Yep, he's come in.
So let's see what tyre compound he's going to go into. Obviously, it should be somewhere around the hard compound tyre, and it is. Nothing silly going on here.
Taz has opted to stay out as well on those mediums.
So he really is going to be hoping for a safety car now. There's nothing else that can bring him back into this race. But what a chain of events. Gee, I've been slow on the cameras tonight. We've missed a couple of belters, but so far it's Apex is taking over the position of P2. Huey's pitted. Taz has spun himself out of the podium. And Eckham has sailed off into the distance, 1.5 seconds ahead of Apex. But Apex has shown some really good pace, so we'll see if he can do anything special here. So the top 6 currently all hard runners.
Yeah, he's had really good pace tonight, and when I was riding on board with Apex...
Oh, Taz has gone off again. Sorry to cut you off there. I've just seen Combine's gone past him, and now he's dropped right out of the top 10 there. So I've just seen the delta of Tazza and I didn't catch the move, just the end of it, but it was because he went off track there in the middle sector. So it's gone from bad to worse to horrible for Tazza here.
He needs to get off those tyres, Snoop.
Yeah, I think he, even trying to go one more lap in it was probably a bit of a foul move to himself there.
He also took a bit too much curb there on the last lap, and he's coming in right now. He is getting off those tyres, and that is a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
So see if I can add one more on. He's gone from bad to worse to horrible to just absolutely depressing here for Tazza. So that is literally the hardest way you can cop a falling of positions there for him.
Yeah, Snoop, that 60km/h pit lane limiter, that catches a lot of people off.
It's a real killer.
I was actually riding on board with him, and he's carrying way too much speed in entry, and I knew it was coming, to be honest. But yeah, that's very unfortunate for Tazza, and I think, yeah, so Valhalla has decided to retire the car.
But he's come back out on track.
Yeah, so his AI has come back out onto the track, even though he retired the car in the pit lane. So there is a yellow flag everywhere he drives, but let's see if that impacts anything.
Oh boy, this is going to get interesting.
Seb, in Sector 1, Seb is right on the back of Apex here. Seb does look like he's got a bit more pace over this last few laps. Definitely does have a bit of a battery advantage here as well.
Is this retirement going to cause a safety car? Oh no, it just disappeared.
Oh, it's gone. Okay, I'm very glad that happened and it didn't cause a safety car.
Yeah, that would have been a little bit of... I'm sure the stewards would have looked into that one, but so far it looks like Valhalla's AI didn't cause any hiccups at all. So luckily for him, a little bit of an issue with the game there. Sometimes it can be in your favour, sometimes it's not. But Seb and Tiger here, they're the ones close behind Apex. And look at this gap. Apex has dragged these guys into touching distance at Ekin, because I think Apex is about 1.5 seconds off, and he's brought the boys back in. So Apex seems to be the dominant force here with his the way he's driving this track right now. And what a little season opener he's had so far. He was one of the ones that was sort of expected to be a bit of a prodigy of the ARL last season. He wasn't able to convert some races, and now he's coming up in season 8, with absolute pace.
Yeah, and look, at this stage of the race as well, Snoop, don't write off Tiger. He's absolutely one of the fastest guys in the Australian sim racing scene. He has entered the scene here with a massive battery advantage. Bit of a silent killer so far this race. He hasn't done a whole lot in terms of moves or anything, but he's staying on the back of Seb quite comfortably here. So he's going to want to try and take advantage of any opportunity he's got. And right now, between Apex and Seb, Tiger has a huge battery advantage over both of them. So it's just a matter of when is he going to deploy it.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. He's done well at the back there to harvest everything he can. So we've seen a little bit of a jumble here. The top 6 at one point was all separated by 5/10 between each car. Now SV is in P5, and he's about 5 seconds off the back of P4. We see Tazza, who's dropped out of the points now. He was P2 for 90% of what we've raced so far. And Huey's the other one who's got himself out in traffic behind Philly, which again is not going to help his cause either. We'll see if he'll get that position done coming down the back straight here, because he's want to get a hurry on, and those guys, he's chased him into the pit lane to get a little bit of a drag there. And so Huey will chase Philly down again, and Philly's going long on these tyres to try and make some positions up with these guys. So,
yeah, now, just an interesting point to make here as well. Kebab and combined YT are the first two of the hard runners to get rid of those hards and go onto the mediums for the last 16 laps of this race. So are we going to see a battle of the pit stop strategy amongst this top 6, or top 5 I should say?
Yeah, it's really one of those ones we sort of see it on the F1 broadcast, who wants to pull the trigger first. They're quite a way out in front that I don't think they're going to be harmed by any traffic. It's just how long they want to, it's when the crossover starts to happen and when.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Apex and Tiger, and he's got a 5-second penalty for speeding.
Oh, such a simple thing to do, and you don't want to be doing that. So Apex, after all that pace he's shown, unless there was some sort of glitch going on there, he's going to have to cop that 5 seconds on the chin.
Snoop, I'm going to come out with a prediction here. So Tiger's gone on to the mediums along with Apex, but Tiger has a massive battery advantage, over 70%. He has come out into traffic though.
Oh, so Huey is the one that just got out ahead of him.
Oh.
So that's the way it should have been, and probably Huey was lucky to get that position there because he pitted a while ago, Huey, 5 laps ago, and the undercut was probably a little bit too early to happen there. So it wasn't an undercut actually, it should have been an overcut what he was trying to do, and it didn't really work. He was lucky to keep that position because at one point he was in P3, and now he finds himself down in P5. There's still a couple, obviously, that need to pit, but I'm interested to see how it played out because that position between him and Tiger was way further apart than what it was when he just came out then.
It was, and what this has done, and it's actually caused Akim and Seb to both come in.
Yeah, they've had to react here.
But unfortunately, Tiger's idea of doing the undercut and using the battery, it's been hampered by coming out into that traffic. So where are they going to come out? Tiger's going to go for the move on Huey around the outside into turn 1. Does Ekim keep the lead? He does. The undercut did not work from Tiger.
So Apex has managed to get that position over the top of Ekim here, but obviously that 5-second penalty, he's going to be kicking himself, Apex, because that's, his pace has brought himself back into this race. Unless he's got a trick up his sleeve to get 5 seconds ahead, it's going to be pretty tight here.
Oh, that Tiger's going to be very unhappy with that because of that battle that he had with Huey. He's actually come out worse, and he's used all of his batteries completely. He's depleted it entirely.
And Seb ahead of him's got about 30%, so well and truly enough to defend from somebody that's got nothing.
Yeah, and on these medium tyres, you only really need 2 sectors to warm them up. So, is that too late for Tiger to try and make a move?
So he will, as it stands right now, if this Delta doesn't get far enough out of the way for Apex, he will be a podium sitter because Apex is going to drop all the way down to about P5 as it stands at the moment, maybe P4. And he's flying out in front, Apex. So is Tiger. Jeez, there's some good lap times there.
Yeah, Tiger had a really fast first sector there. He did use a lot of his battery though through that first sector. And just want to say good evening to CRL Lexi in the chat. Hello there, how are you? Thanks for joining.
Lexi. Welcome to the ARL. So someone's gone around the 3rd sector. It might be somebody getting out of the way for blue flags, but it all seems pretty... that's cleared itself straight away.
Yeah, I think we're okay there. Werribee is about to get lapped though by Apex. Werribee is just having a good night. He's just having his own race. Yeah, he's just cruising along. He'll probably have some music going in the background. He's not too worried.
So speaking of Tazza as well, he's absolutely under attack here from the Haas of Philly to gain a couple more points here at the back end of the positions. I think this has just gone from bad to worse from him because now he's on the suboptimal tyre, the back end of the race here, and he's going to get gobbled up by a few of these guys on the mediums, I think.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to see, and props to Philly for putting himself in this position to be in Div 1.
Someone's
we
gone
do
off.
have a car. Yeah, Dutch is out in the sand. He's actually went into the wall as well. Very, very lucky to not DNF there, but he's got no front wing whatsoever. It will have another set of mediums though, so I dare say he'll come in, put on a fresh set of mediums, and get that wing repaired.
So it's getting a little bit tighter for positions out here as we see Philly gets that job done on Tazza on the timing sheets, but it's Apex now. He's getting hindered by this Mercedes. It's filling up his rear view mirrors, or his side mirrors, they have in these cars actually. Ekim is so fast and so consistent. It's actually a a bit of a statement for these other guys that they're going to have to do a fair bit to keep this guy down during this shortened season here, leading up to the next game.
And look, you make a good point. I don't know if Huey's had a mistake at any point in the last few laps, but Tiger's absolutely dropped him. 3.5 seconds now, the gap, in the last 2 or 3 laps.
I think, like you said, he had pace in the back of that Mercedes, and he was just waiting to use it. And he's done well there, because now I mean, if he's made a mistake, then so be it, but he's put himself in that position again where he can just stay at the back of that pack and make a move when he feels like it. And Apex is fully juiced out here. You see Ekim, who's pretty much juiced out. Seb's got nothing left in the tank, and Tiger's also got nothing left in the tank, actually. So they've all got pretty much the same ERS now. Apex is the lowest. He's under 10%. He'll build that up through this sector here with the heavy braking zones. But yeah, it's coming down to a bit of a pace drive now, with them all on similar, well, pretty much the same lap old tyres. So it comes down to who's quickest now.
Yeah, just watching Worry Boy get out of the way there in Sector 2 as he's just been lapped. Now, Apex, with that 5-second penalty, if he wants any chance of staying on the podium, he really needs to try and break that DRS to Ekim.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's the only thing that's going to save him.
Great.
He really needs probably 7 Tiger to push up to Ekim to relieve a little bit of pressure from himself, because with that gap they've got now, I don't think Ekim's too worried about what's going on behind him. He's just focusing on Apex ahead, so he'd really need one of these guys to come and push up behind and put some pressure on, and ultimately challenge for a position to give him room to go out and put some times in. As Dutchy with a 5-second time penalty for ignoring blue flags, that's probably a bit of a tough one. I think he's done the right thing all day. So that's just F122, Cody's typical thing that happens. So ABK has and Tazza are jostling for that last points position here. You see they come out to the first corner here, and it's getting tight, big contact, and he spun him around. So Tazza just cut him off there by the looks of it, and he's put ABK into a spin. Luckily, I don't think he's got any damage. The front wing looks okay, but unfortunately for him, that was pretty tight there. Nobody wanted to back out of that, and that's going to allow Tarachi on the medium compound tyre to come have a rip at Tazza for that final points position. So it looks like Ekim as well. Ekim on board here now, starting to get really, really close to the back of the Alfa Romeo. It's going to get tight here through this sector, and it's going to break late on the inside. Just thinks different of that one. So they're going to go toe-to-toe up into the second sector here. A lot of time can be made or lost through a mistake.
Yeah, Ekim's in a really tough position here as well, Snoop, because, you know, he's going to inherit P1 anyway from that penalty, but if he doesn't try and make a move and he doesn't stay on Apex's gearbox, then he's very, very vulnerable to Seb and Tiger hanging behind. And also, side note, Tiger's actually just lost DRS to Seb.
Ooh, so that's a big killer. If he hasn't managed to reel that back in, because he's teetering on the point of losing that, if he doesn't reel that in, he is going to be in a bit of trouble to stay on the back of this, and he might, you know, sort of gift Apex that podium position if they leave him behind.
Just a correction on that losing DRS, he must have been a slither of a millisecond inside DRS and that action zone, because I'm sure that was over a second. But he's stayed inside that 1 second gap now, so that's good for him.
Yeah, lucky that you can be pretty lucky with this game sometimes. Sometimes you get it when you shouldn't have it, and sometimes you don't get it when you should have it. So luckily for Tiger, he was on the right side of that scenario just then. He's able to bring himself back in, but he's still on a second, so he's going to have to be clinical on this lap, or the rest of the laps really, to keep himself there, because Apex, Ekim and Seb are starting to drop him off a little bit, so he's going to have to work hard here. I'm not sure if he's just trying to save his tyres a little bit more, and knows that maybe he's got enough pace to bring himself back in, but as we see Sector 1 and 2, we've got yellow flags, maybe just blue flags, people getting out of the way. So Tadachi's right on the back of Tazza here, coming into the first couple corners here, and it's going to be a real bummer for Tazza if he drops outside the points going from P2. Tadachi as well wouldn't have wanted to start his season this way. Being right at the back, but a point nonetheless would be good if him and Philly can round out the last two positions. We'll keep an eye on this.
I wonder
one.
if... Sorry, Snoop. I was just going to say, I wonder if Taz has had any damage in these last few laps. He doesn't really seem to be on the pace at all.
Nah.
Over 2.5 seconds on the back of Philly now. That's definitely not like Tazza to be that far back.
No, not at all. No, you're totally right there, Zilla. I think the race that's been tough for him has been worse and worse and worse as the laps have carried on through this race. So these two...
Six...
Sorry, mate, go ahead.
No, you go.
No, I was just going to say these two battling ahead here. Tadachi not making too many inroads right now, but we will see with DRS if he can get the position done here down the back straight. He's going to use his battery. He's going to go on the inside of Tazza, and that's a miserable day for Tazza. I don't think he'll be able to fight back too much with those medium tyres being a lot fresher for him, and Tadachi's going to run away with this one. We'll keep an eye on it, but we'll move our way back to the front of the pack, where Ekem is slowly knocking down this, and Tiger's dropped right out now. I don't think he'll get DRS this time around, Zilla.
I think you're right. He's trying to use the battery to get back in that 1 second, but yeah, you're right, mate. He's lost DRS. So that's not good for Tiger. He needs to try and close that gap by the second sector DRS zone to try and get back into this race. As you can see, it's about 3/10 he's lost there down the main straight just because of that DRS.
So it looks like it's a battle for the top three now. He's already dropped 1.4 off after being left behind in that DRS train. So he's going to find himself slowly drifting further and further off the back of the pack here, unless they start fighting is really his only hope, I think, to bring himself back in.
Now, Seb, it looks like Seb's doing his best to harvest as much battery as he can, because he hasn't touched it in a while. He's up at 40% now. So coming into the last 6 laps of this race, it could make all the difference in the last lap or two. Factoring in Apex's penalty, if Seb can get the move done on Ekem, that's a race win for Seb. So I'm very interested to see how this plays out this last 6 laps.
It's a funny one when you've got 2 cars ahead of you. You think, I'm in P3 right now, but they're actually battling for P1 here, Ekem and Seb, and it's hard to put yourself in that mindset when you're driving because you're focusing on what's in front of you. But yeah, essentially you're right, Zilla. They are battling for P1 here, these 2 guys, and Apex is really, he's going to have to do his best to get Tiger out of the way if he even wants to be on the podium still.
Does the car stopped here as well? Oh, it's worryable. He's got the car going. So we just had a yellow flag there in Sector 3, but he has got the car moving, so that's good.
Yeah, so Seb is actually the one that looks like to be in the best position here because he's got that battery, and coming down to the final 5 laps here, he's gonna, if he can save just a little bit more of it and use the DRS to time along, he's gonna have a much bigger ERS boost for the end of this race. So as Max commentates in the chat says, it's one of the hardest things to do, cruelest thing to do to try and save ERS on this track. So these guys, well, specifically Seb's done a really good job, and Apex and Ekem are maybe going to feel the pain of this late in the race here.
Oh. Yeah, it's just watching Ekem. He actually went quite a bit deep there into the final sector, and Seb closed up quite a lot, but just in that final corner, he was able to bridge the gap again. So these guys have dropped Tiger, unfortunately. The gap now at 2 seconds, so who knows? We may get a last few lap collision between these two, and Tiger may come through and take the race win. Yeah. Who knows? Anything can happen at this point.
So here we go. All right, it's getting tight now. So Apex was a little bit early on the brakes, which nearly seen Ekem and Seb have a little sandwich between Apex, and that's going to get tight now. So the position's getting close. You see Ekem only 2 tenths behind the Alfa Romeo car here, and Seb's right on the back. But just as we spoke about, Seb's the one that's got the ERS advantage here. He's going to be able to deploy that when he feels necessary. So this is going to be pretty tight now. I'd imagine there's 4 laps to go, and the elbows start coming out around this time, Zilla. I think we might start to see some moves starting to happen, and possibly some contact. Everyone's getting late on the brakes, as we can see. Seb's doing everything he can now to stay absolutely right on the back of this Mercedes. So let's see how this plays out. But so far, this lap has brought a little bit more energy than the rest.
Here we go. Seb's deploying the battery. Is he going to get the move done? I don't think he's got the pace here.
He's going to have a rip around the outside.
He's going to have a look around his contact. Can he hold it around the outside? No, he can't. He's shut the door. Ekim made that very clear.
So they've got to be careful here. They don't want to do this too much because it's going to allow Apex to run off. So it looks like Seb's done the right thing. But how crazy is this? So Seb has literally saved that battery the entire last 10 laps. And now he's in the exact same position as these two guys in front. He's completely juiced out. So now it's coming down to a top 3 battle purely based on speed, racecraft. We want to see what these Div 1 guys have. So they're going to have to use everything out of their racing books that they have stored in their brains to get something to happen here. And it looks like elbows are starting to be released here at Zandvoort.
And there's still 3 laps to go, mate.
Oh,
it feels like a last lap battle, but we still have 3 laps to go.
So even though Apex has got a 5-second time penalty here, he's really doing everything he can. And I just want to reiterate now, with 3 laps to go, with this battling going on, we're seeing that Mercedes at the back of Tiger has brought that gap down to 1.3 seconds. So if he can knock another 3/10 down, say this lap, if there's a little bit more battling, he's going to be back in with DRS range. He's going to add another car to this battle.
Mate, I bet Ekim would just be cursing Apex this last 10 laps. Just wishing he'd get out of the way. Because he's really, really putting him off at this point. We do see a car at the Sector 3. It's Dutchy goes around there at the last sector. Last corner, sorry.
So
back on board with Seb. Just trying to put as much pressure as he can on Ekim. But these guys are just not cracking, are they?
No,
Under this pressure?
It's been funny because we went from having 7 to 5 to 4 in thing, and it's these 3 guys that have lasted the whole time to stay consistent, and they've literally been within 5/10 of each other the entire race, which is an amazing feat, just to go to show how good these drivers are. And speaking of good drivers, Seb now is right on the back of Ekim. These deltas are slowly tying themselves into each other, and we're seeing him shorten every lap as we get closer to the end of this race here in round 1 of the Division 1 Championship. So looks like Apex got a pretty good exit, but everyone's getting close now. Look at this DRS. It seems to have another effect on the last couple of laps. Everyone goes wide. Apex takes the inside. Ekim tries to go around the outside. Now they're jostling. Seb's on the back. It looks like Apex has lost the position, and Ekim goes down the inside. Will Apex switch back? He's going to try to go the long way around. It gives him the inside line. Gets a great exit down the outside. They're too wide. With Seb watching on the battle down the back straight. So look at this happen, and Ekim just redresses around the back. Apex able to hold that position, and look at Seb watching the drama unfold. So there's the elbows have well and truly come out here in turn 1. Wowee.
Mate, unreal. And this has also brought Tiger back into this race. Now he's back in DRS at the end of this race. Unbelievable stuff there between Ekim and Apex. Apex did not want to relinquish that position at all.
You know
he
what,
was
5-second penalty or not, that's amazing. That's really good from Apex, and that's disappointing he's managed to get himself a 5-second penalty, because he actually does deserve the race win today. I think he brought himself from the depths of the grid. He wasn't too far up, and he's just out of pure pace. He's wheeled himself back in, but it's not going to stop these guys from having another crack. So Ekim and Seb, they just haven't bothered away, these guys. And look at Tiger. He's just peeking on the back there. 2 Mercedes in the shot there. So Seb just tries to go around the outside and tries to switch back. He got a pretty good exit. So now we're going to see these guys go toe-to-toe down the back straight. Looks like Ekim's just got enough to head to keep this car in front. But through the second sector, it's undulating, it's curvy. And these guys are absolutely giving it all here in the final lap. So Seb, just gets close to the back of Ekim.
Yeah, these guys are giving it everything in this last lap. Are we going to see a late lunge after this DRS zone? Ekim's gone wide. Ekim's lost the back of the car. Seb's through.
So Seb on the inside. Ekim's going to go deep on the brakes and gets it done. What a late braking on the inside contact. And Seb goes around the outside. So that was actually really good from Ekim, deep on the brakes, and he managed to make it stick, but just wasn't provided the racing room at the end there. But what a finish to this race. What a finish. So it's actually going to be Seb in the end. He takes P1 of the first Division 1 race here in the ARL, with Ekim taking P2, and Tiger manages to sneak a podium there. So it's a 2-3 for the Mercedes team. That's a big points boost for them. But Ekim manages to steal the P1 away.
What a race. Now, right at the end there, after Seb and Ekim were battling, I was actually riding on board with Tiger because I was waiting to see if he could take advantage of Ekim losing out, but he actually nearly lost the car himself. So it was all happening there in the last sector on the last lap of this Zandvoort race in round 1. Unbelievable stuff. These guys put on a show tonight.
Wow, we've been lucky boys here in the commentary box. Last round we were treated to some battles, and right now these guys have, oh my god, that was just the final end to that race. The last 4 laps was absolutely exhilarating. Congratulations to the top 3, and a big shout out to Apex, who through a silly mistake in the pit lane has found himself outside of the top 3, but definitely a drive worthy of a win between all 4 of those guys, I could all say. Huey unlucky just outside of P5 there. SV, a nice drive for him to secure some points for the Williams team in P6. Kebab, also a sole point winner for the team of McLaren. Combined YouTube, he manages to bring the Aston Martin team into the points, with Philly and Tadachi rounding out the final points positions for the Haas team. And it's Tazza, ABK, Azika, Werebu, Dachi that go from P11 to P15. And Tazza's probably the one there who will be kicking himself about that race, because he really probably could have been at the end there a race winner.
Yeah, very disappointing there for Tazza. He won't be happy with that at all.
And just a quick shout out to Tadachi as well. He went from P17 into the points, so that's a great recovery drive for him. And like I said, Philly and P9, they're able to get the Haas guys on the money there. So well done to them. But a very, very exhilarating race here for the start of our revamped ARL, and it proves to be a winning formula for the league.
Yeah, mate, if this is a taste of what's to come for the rest of this season, I'm all in. I can't wait to see the rest of it.
No, absolutely. So a little bit happened during that race. There was quite a few bits of collision and stuff like that, but nonetheless, a pretty clean racing. But it's Seb who takes P1. He started from 5th on the grid. Ekim in P2, and Tiger, who is P3. Apex, with a 5-second penalty, drops down to P4, and Huey rounds out the top 5 with SV, Kebab, YouTube combined, Philly and Tadachi, who round out the top 10 with our point scorers, and then Tazza P11, ABK P12, Aziko P13, Weruboy P14, and then we had Dutchy, Valhalla, and Dodgerino were the guys that weren't able to finish the race. Oh, I think Dutchy did finish it, but it was Valhalla and Dodgerino who were the guys that didn't finish tonight. We'll be back in just a moment for our interviews.
No, there ain't no stopping us. Fly without boarding pass. Couldn't catch me, I'll be moving fast. Call me a shooting star. Let 'em know who you are. Flying up in a bar. Wish on a star. Time to show 'em who's in charge. Call me a shooting star. Didn't even get to bronze. I said I'm moving too far. Get to glass. like a shooting star. Got more than a couple of people going mad, I swear they're rooting hard. Tell them I'd be big in the game like she went and got them breast implants. I said I'm moving too fast, didn't even get a glance. I'm ready to eat up track like I'm seated in a restaurant. If you had swag like mine, you know it's best.
All right, welcome back here. We're in our interviews, and we've got our race winner here, Seb. What a way to start off the season with a win, but a hard-fought win in the end.
Yeah, we know Zandvoort, overtaking is not so great, and everyone's pretty much similar pace. It's hard to kind of get that advantage over people, and be able to pull out of that DRS. You kind of have to get a bit of luck. So it was a good race. Not all that happy with my quali, and my race pace wasn't amazing, but kind of just right place, right time, stole it off Eckham there at the end. So yeah, still a good result, obviously, but still a bit of work to do.
Yeah. And speaking of the quali, how did you find the layout? Do you prefer the short quali as it stands, or did you enjoy something different with the full layout of the Q1, Q2, Q3?
You know, it's exciting, like being able to, you know, have those extra quali sessions. You know, you need to set the good lap times to get through. But in terms of myself, you know, I think I performed better in short quali to full quali. You know, in another league the other day, my time was 0.2 better than my Q3 lap. So, you know, I performed better in the short quali, but I still enjoy the excitement of the full quali. So it's, you know, 50-50 sort of thing.
Yeah.
Mate, Seb, what a race from you tonight. Great battle between you and Eckham there at the end of the race. Snoop and I were talking for quite a while during that race about, you know, how composed you need to be and how focused you need to be throughout that entire race to not make a mistake.
Yeah.
As you say, mate, you know, this type of track, it punishes you if you hit the curbs and, you know, if you make errors. And props to you for keeping it clean for that entire race, you know, moving along through that DRS train, take advantage of that opportunity towards the end, and you come away with a race win, mate. So very well done to yourself. What a way to start the new season, yeah?
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Legend.
How are you feeling about next week, mate? We've got Baku in sprint format as well.
I like Baku a lot. You know, a lot of people don't like it. You know, the 90-degree corners, the big curves, but you know, I think I thrive in that sort of area. So, you know, I've been quick there in the past. It's probably one of my best tracks, to be honest. So, looking forward to that one.
Yeah, great.
Good
and
stuff,
the new format as well. We've got a one-shot quali to set the sprint.
Interesting, yeah.
They sure will.
Talk about opportunities there. You gotta, you know, your one lap to set a good lap time. You could end up like Max Verstappen, back of the grid sort of shit.
Absolutely. Yeah. I speak for myself and Snoop, mate. I'm sure we can't wait to come back next Thursday and watch you boys put on another show.
It'd be great.
Yeah, well, looking forward to that, Seb. Best of luck with you. You know, with a few drivers gone, there's definitely a championship up for grabs, and with your performance tonight, it's looking in some good form for you to go and have a good crack at that. So I'm looking forward to seeing how you go this season.
Appreciate it, guys.
Awesome, mate. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Seb.
See you.
So that was our race winner, Seb. And Azila is just out in the Discord right now finding our two Mercedes drivers who were able to bring down a 2-3 drive here tonight. They did a really good job. Eckham was unlucky not to get the win at the end there, but it was a hard-fought battle. And his teammate Tiger, through just keeping his nose in it at the end, was able to steal that P3 position away from Apex. So some unbelievable driving from those guys. Tiger probably a little bit off the back of the pace, which we'll ask him at the end there. I'm not sure if he was carrying any damage. Maybe he wore his tyres out a little bit harder than the rest of the lads. But yeah, he was able to get a podium nonetheless in the end, and that's what counts.
Yeah, absolutely. And just while I'm scrolling through Discord, mate, funnily enough, both of our Mercedes boys have disappeared from voice chat. Unless I am completely blind, I cannot find Eckham or Tiger any voice call right now. So
it seems to be the thing of the Mercedes drivers. They don't like the media too much. But we will. How about we pull Apex in? He was just outside of the top three, but he really did. he really did deserve a race win today, and through a small mistake, which I'm sure we'll find out about right now,
Yep.
he relegated his position in the top 3 there. Would have been a race win. Apex, my fellow West Australian man, a tough night for you. You would have got a race win there if it wasn't for that 5-second time penalty. First of all, is that something that's going to be removed, or was that a mistake from yourself?
It was a mistake by myself.
Yeah,
Okay. Let me get closer to the mic. Yeah, I came in for the undercut, and then I was like, must be 80. And then when I saw it, it was 60. And I got down to I was like full on the brakes.
Yeah.
I had my foot slamming on the brake pedal, but I only reached down to 62. 2 kilometers over, and yeah, gave me that 5 second. I was like, a little pissed at myself, but you know, the stuff happens. But yeah, great race though. I'm gonna lie, I love the new concept. Tazza and Fluxy and Kato have done. Lovely new league. It's a great fresh start to the season. I gotta say, it's very, very lovely to race with all the other guys. And yeah, GG to Crush. Good win. A good final lap overtake in the end.
So for you, this is kind of like your return back to a full-time seat, because last year in the Elite Division you were sort of in and out and around. Are you coming back this year to are you going to have a genuine crack at this title? Do you think you can take that?
Honestly, no. I'm not gonna doubt myself. If I'm there. But like, there's guys faster than me. I had really good pace today. I felt like I was connected to the car a lot more better than I have been other races, and I did feel like, yeah, if I wanted to, I could give it a crack. Like it showed today, that undercut and me outpacing a few guys and keeping up in front with the DRS and all that. Shows that if I wanted to, I could challenge for wins. But at the moment, it's just school's coming first. Being yelled at by my school a lot and parents, so there's not much I can really do, and I work a lot. So yeah, I struggle to have like downtime if I want to practice. Because today is the first time I've been in the rig since the 24-hour on Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
So I haven't been in it all week because I've just been school, work, and all that. So I'm very busy and tired at the moment. So it's just good to relax, have a race with a few guys, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, firstly, well done to you for setting your priorities straight. As much as we love racing, it's good of you, Apex, to do the right thing and think about your education first. But has it been hectic at KFC the last couple of weeks with the OG mashes coming back to fruition? Has that caused a bit of ruckus as well?
If you're asking for a staff discount, yes, you can have it. But like, I don't know what to say more hectic, Zandvoort or the KFC Friday Night Rush, which I'm going to be doing tomorrow. But yeah. It was a very good race, and also KFC is very hectic at the moment. It was worse with the what was it? Oh, the slab. I hate that. Like, no, don't order slab, please.
Well, congratulations to you, mate. It's good to see you back up at the front. And even though you were relegated through that penalty, you still deserve to be up there, mate. So congratulations to you. Have you got anything to add, Zilla?
Mate, I think you summed it up really well. And look, just to add to that, Apex, drove a really, really consistent, really good race tonight. Very, very disappointing to see the 5-second penalty be the difference there. It's always a shame when that goes against you after you had such a good drive. So I can understand if you're a bit upset by that one, especially if it's 2 kilometers over the limit. So that's a massive shame. But mate, great night tonight. Talk to me about next week. So we have the new sprint format. Baku, we've got a one-shot quali to set the sprint grid, and then the sprint to set the race grid. So talk to me about your feelings on that. Are you going to get some time in the rig for some practice or no?
No, sadly. I've got to say no. I'll be very, very busy. Thursday night will be the only night I'll be able to practice. But yeah, as the old man says, shit happens. So yeah, that's what happened tonight.
Well, hopefully we'll see you back soon, mate.
Yeah, lovely talking with you boys, and I'm
sure
to see
we
you up
will.
in the front again.
Awesome,
Take it easy,
mate.
guys.
See you next week.
Likewise, mate. See ya.
So, excuse me for I haven't set my Discord up, so I'm not going to bring us over to the calendar coming up, because we won't be able to hear the beautiful voices of Zilla and myself. But speaking of the calendar coming up, as he pointed out, so Baku City Circuit next, Azerbaijan. That one's a bit of a belter. You love it or hate that track, don't you?
Yeah, Baku is another, similar to Zandvoort in the way that it's a very technical track. There's a lot of time to find at Baku with the curbs, whether you choose to ride over them or not, and the different lines that you take. But very, very fast track. I've got very bad memories of Baku. So from season 6 ARL, I had 7 pit stops in the academy division in season 6. I broke about 6 wings, I think, during that race. So I'm personally not very excited for the race, but it's going to be great for us to commentate on next Thursday night, mate.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. And we'll just quickly run over. So we have Baku for round 2. We're heading to the beautiful Interlagos circuit, one of the most iconic tracks in the F1 calendar. And another one as well, which unfortunately has been rained out. Oh, Enzo D... Wait, is that Monza or is that Imola? That's Monza, I think.
That is Monza, yeah.
So we have Monza round 4 again. The Temple of Speed, and that track, as you would have seen in 2021 between Hamilton and Verstappen there at turn 1. That turns 1 and 2 there is quite a talking point. I'm sure we'll have a few loud voice moments in that race. We come to Spa, which I believe is Spa the 100% race of the season. So Spa and Imola. Oh, it is Imola. It says it up here.
It is Imola.
Boy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just had to correct myself.
I thought Imola was like the one they say it's like the Emilia Romagna. It's a really, really, really long name. But yeah, so Imola and Spa, which are back-to-back 100% races, and they've got full quali as well. So that's really going to separate the guys that can be consistent over a long distance. No intention of rhyming there. Then we have Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. That's Montreal, Canada. A tricky track as well. A little bit of compromise between the setup of the car. Coda, Circuit of the Americas, a very, very competitive track. Great racing as well. And then we head to the final destination of F1 22, where we will close out the game at Yas Marina Circuit. It's where most champions are crowned, or every champion is crowned these days, and does provide some exciting racing, especially that third sector there, the square turns under the bridge. It always causes carnage there, as we've seen in 2021 as well. A very, very ambiguous circuit. So looking forward to that one. But my name is Snooper Loop. We're going to finish off this first stream. Anything to add tonight, Zilla? What did you reckon? How can we close out this Div 1 race here at Zandvoort?
Oh, mate, it's been an awesome night. Action-packed. The 3 qualifying tonight was really exciting and interesting to see how it played out. The whole week's been action-packed with 3 nights of really competitive racing. Coming into next week, I'm sure when we talk this time again next Thursday, there will have been some very exciting racing on Tuesday and Wednesday night. So we'll have plenty to recap at the end of next week. But yeah, apart from that, thanks for tuning in at home. It's been a great night. Thanks for joining along, and on to the next one in Baku.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks, Zilla. Tune in next Tuesday from 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time to see Div 3 kick off the week at Baku. So those guys don't do the full quali as what we do in Div 1. So 8 p.m. for the two Div 3 and 2, and then for our Div 1 we start half an hour early at 7:30. So make sure you get in the chat, come and say hi, and always follow the links for our socials, and come in the Discord and get involved. It's a new season. We've got a new game coming soon, so there's plenty of room for drivers, and we're looking for space as well. So come in, have a chat, meet the gang. But for now, I'm Snooper Loop, and I was with Zilla tonight, and we are signing off for the first race of Div 1. Thank you very much, guys.